Greetings from Bulgaria. I'm Vulkk for those of you who don't know me, and for everybody else who's currently watching the live stream, welcome guys. Today I'm going to do, because I think I like doing these things, something new. I've been trying to surprise myself with weird and new things and inventions and methods of entertaining myself and you all with different and interesting things, hopefully. Today I have, just like the title suggests, hopefully in-depth, very long and very detailed guide or tutorial about Open Broadcast Studio or OBS. How to use it, how to install it, what features it offers, what settings it has, how to local record on a very high quality video and audio, because audio is actually sometimes even more important than the video. And of course, how to live stream and why you should live stream here, there, what settings you should use, and all of these other things. I'm hoping to do a good job, and this live stream will allow you to ask live questions. I will do my best to answer as many as I can whenever I see fit. Now, you might have a weird question that I will be answering later on, or a question that I've already answered before during the live stream if you've joined late. I would like to do my best to help and answer all of you who have been sending me messages with questions. How do you record your videos? What do you use? What settings do you have? For those almost 4 years actually now, closing about 4 years since I've started my own YouTube channel. This will not be a gameplay live stream. It will feature a very little amount of Star Wars The Old Republic just for demonstration purposes. And why I've decided to do it live, because it's fun, because I think live discussion is more interesting, and you can ask questions. I know that many of you are lazy to post comments and ask questions, plus sometimes I'm not really capable of answering all of your questions at the proper speed, so live stream should be more fun. Starting with some of the main topics, and my cheat list is right over here, so the webcam will be featured later on. Don't worry, I just can't use webcam when I'm streaming with one software and demonstrating the other one. The bandwidth is just not enough because it's a USB 2 port. Currently, I'm live streaming this using Game Show, which I've purchased during the last Black Friday, and I'm still testing this. So far, it's behind OBS, and maybe in the future, I will make a separate, similar to this kind of video tutorial about Game Show, although the creators from Telestream have been doing awesome job talking about all of the features for that program, so we'll leave it aside. Just know that if something goes wrong now, or maybe it already is, or in the future during the live stream, it's because I don't fully understand yet all of the features and capabilities of Game Show, but picture and sound is, and the normally working sound is all I need for this live recording. Right, first main topic is main difference between YouTube Live and Twitch Live. And don't forget, we will discuss about local recording, but then again, local recording is primarily reserved for YouTube because I don't really think any other, at least gamer, bothers uploading to any of the other platforms. Right, what I show here before you on the screen is quite an old blog from February in the beginning of the year. My decision to move to YouTube from Twitch. I've streamed to Twitch for about 2.5 years, and at some point I've decided to move to YouTube. If you want to learn the deepest details as to what made me make this decision, you can check out the blog. It is linked down below in the video description, or actually below in the live stream description. And you will know more things. Just briefly, YouTube offers me higher quality and a lot more flexibility with less limitations and options to unmute things that someone, in my case, because I primarily stream Star Wars game, it's Sony blocking my video content because of licensed original Star Wars music soundtrack. Anyway, a quick and basic overview is the next step of Open Broadcaster software. This is it. Maybe I should minimize this to allow you to better see the window. I know it's small. It's probably small because I have a higher resolution screen. And yes, OBS doesn't take much space unless I maximize it, but I don't really see a point of maximizing it because nothing really gets bigger except the picture inside. A very quick and brief overview. If you don't actually know, you can very quickly and easily download OBS from the original website or their own website, obsproject.com. The current version that I will be demonstrating things from is 0.16.6. And before I forget, I have a very special guest here with me on my Patreon Discord, Jim, or Manfred, my old officer from my guild in Star Wars The Old Republic, who betrayed me and moved to another game now. Jim has asked me a few times in the past to help him understand a little bit better OBS, and I've decided instead of doing it with screenshots and explanations over Skype or any other method, I would do a live stream. So I've actually invited him to join me here. Hi, Jim.
Hi.
So you will be live streaming probably to YouTube, but haven't decided yet, right?
No, I haven't decided yet. I'm still thinking. I really want to get into the software first and see what I can do exactly.
Most of the things I will show and talk about today are exactly the same in terms of mechanics and steps for both Twitch and YouTube, and probably for what's the other one? Hitbox as well. You might have to use a couple of different plugins for this or for that streaming platform, but it's all really the same. My live stream will be primarily talking about YouTube live streaming and YouTube local recording for publishing VODs or normal video uploads as we know them, because that's what I do. Plus, the number of tutorials for OBS about YouTube are far less in number. Basic overview of the window for OBS when you start it. Now, when you start it, you don't exactly see a full scene selection and sources for each one of the scenes. That's why I've actually created a new scene collection. That's pretty much what you start with. You start with a scene and an empty source bar. I've added a display capture just so I can have some picture here. And I would like to quickly talk about some of these features available from the menus. We're starting with show recordings. Obviously, this is going to take you to the local folder where you're recording your stuff. Obviously, you would see here a whole bunch of videos that I haven't edited or renamed or prepared for anything yet. Then we have Remux recording, something you primarily shouldn't care about. The next one is settings, really important place, and we'll talk a lot more about the settings menu in a moment. Just let's finish the quick overview. Show settings folder is something really important because these are the items or the folders and files you should copy frequently to prevent data loss, or when something bad and wrong happens to you, your PC, your hard drive, or something else, you should have these folders that I've just selected before you on the screen as a backup, because they contain actually every important settings that me and you are going to talk about and show for OBS. Next one is show the profile folder, which is actually a part of the whole settings folder for OBS. You can set it always on top, but I don't really recommend. It might actually be a huge problem if you're only using one screen. In the edit menu, we have transform. Transform is really something that we'll talk about when we start creating scenes, because it's directly related to creating scenes and putting sources into those scenes. The order, the next menu, is again directly related to the order of the scenes and the sources in them. We've got preview scaling, which is self-explanatory, and I personally prefer to scale to window because otherwise the picture might actually be really nicely cut and you won't be able to see many things. Lock preview is something that you might care about or not. Advanced audio properties I will explain later because this is really important for local recording. And this is the best feature that GameShow doesn't have at the moment, or at least it doesn't offer such a simple and very nicely working solution. The next menu is profile. Here you can create different profiles. I've created in the past a Twitch 720p profile. Why there are different profiles? Because you will have in these profiles different settings for live streaming and for local recording, depending on whether you stream to Twitch or to YouTube. The most important leading difference between those is the quality and bitrate that you will be streaming with. And that's why you might want different profiles. I'll tell you more about these things when we go into the settings menu again. I personally use lately, or for the last 1 year, my profile for YouTube, because I've always been streaming at 1080p with 60 FPS, and I have a different profile for local recording. They're actually exactly the same. The qualities for local recording from my live stream profile and from my local profile are exactly the same. The only difference is that if I'm selecting local profile and click live streaming, nothing happens. Basically, because I don't have settings for live streaming. That's the only thing, in case I randomly click by mistake and start a live stream without intending it. Vulkk's desktop is my banner. Yes, you've guessed it right. It's actually not exactly the same. The text here is different. And I see that I didn't cut my green screen properly here on this corner. I'll fix that some other time probably. Continuing down the line, talking about the profiles. Next menu is the scene collection. This is where you might build different scenes for whatever purpose. Maybe you would prefer to have different scene collection for every different game or live stream activity that you do. I have decided to have one scene collection for Twitch and one scene collection for YouTube. Basically, a scene collection is all of these scenes that you create here. You can create a scene collection for them, and if you use different kind of scene selection for Twitch and for YouTube, you might see what I've done in the past. If you've been watching my live streams on Twitch more than a year ago, you remember some of these screens. I've stopped using it, but I haven't deleted it. And I've made a brand new test collection, because here I will be showing you later how scenes and sources are being created. Continuing to the next, we've got the tools menu with automatic scene switcher, something that seriously do not advise novice live streamers to use, because it can be really overwhelming and a little bit complicated to take care of. Plus, it's not really that required unless you're streaming something very specific. Output timer is something you absolutely don't need to take care of, and you don't really need to know exactly what it is even. That's the top bar. Below you have a giant window with the preview. What you see here is going on your live stream. Down below in the bottom left corner, you have a scenes collection. Currently, when you install OBS for the very first time, you've got only one scene. It is the default scene, and you have nothing on the sources. Scenes, if I switch to something more populated, scenes are those things. Basically, that's my intro scene. You saw that the other day when I did my last live stream in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I have another scene with ending, and pretty much the only different thing is the text over here saying that the live stream has ended. Then I have a scene for a couple of different games that I mainly play and live stream more often. I have several other scenes for this one when I want to show my desktop, for example. On the right side, sources are the items or things you populate your scenes with. They can be static pictures, gameplay, webcam, overlay, chat, pop-ups, and everything else. I will tell you more about this and how to do them and how to work with them later on. Moving on to the middle bottom section, this is where your audio channels are. For each different scene, you might actually have different number of audio channels. You will notice that in the intro scene, I have my microphone. Everything is muted, of course, because I don't want double sound. The second one is desktop audio, which is usually my game, my Skype, my Discord, and everything else that is coming from the system. The third is optional, and that is because I've added an extra audio source. Music intro software is the lovely music you guys have been hearing every time I start the live stream before my ugly mug appears on the screen. Moving on to the bottom right corner, we've got a menu with scene transitions. When you change from one scene to another, you have an option to decide how you want this to be done. For example, if I select cut and change between scenes, you would see that it directly cuts into the scenes. Whereas if I decide to fade and I start switching between scenes, you would see that there is a slight fade slightly noticeable fade effect. You can make it more noticeable if you change the duration here. For example, if I switch this to 1000 milliseconds, the fading effect will be much slower, maybe if you're going for that. And right here, we've got the start streaming button and start recording button. These are usually separately activated by clicking on them. Or if you prefer, you can make the local recording start automatically. I'll show how and where that's done from. Studio mode is a cool feature that I primarily almost never use because I don't really switch between scenes most of the time. I can give you a quick idea of where it might be useful. For example, if I have, let's say, this scene, and I want to transition the same scene, but without the webcam, I would turn off the webcam and then I would transition, because the left part of the studio mode is preview window. That's something only I can see. And the right part, this one over here, is the window that everybody else is watching currently on the live stream. So in the preview window, I have my webcam displayed, and on the live window, I don't have the webcam displayed. You don't really need to use studio mode because the exact same fade effect is applied when you switch from one scene to another. But you still have it for those of the more advanced folks who really need to use more advanced switching. And then we go into settings, because that's really the most important part, and that's probably the most interesting part. Jim, are you able to catch up from the live stream?
Yes, I am.
Any questions so far? Anything
No.
that you would like to point out?
No, not at all. You're
If
very
you
clear.
spot a question from my chat, because I might miss something, so many tiny Vulkks, that's a nice joke. Yeah, it's because I'm showing the desktop and it multiplies to eternity. Right, in the settings, we've got several tabs. The first one is general. Almost nothing really needs special attention. I prefer the dark theme for OBS. If you prefer the classic white one, it's entirely up to you. I do like to have show confirmation dialog when starting live streams, just in case I randomly click, as I told you. I like to have to take a little bit of extra precaution and have a warning message. Hey, you are actually starting a live stream. Do you really want to go live? And then I have a similar one, show confirmation dialog when stopping the live stream, just in case I click by mistake or do something else, especially if you're using keybind hotkeys. It's really, really easy to stop your live stream if you don't have that pop-up dialog. Then the other options are pretty much self-explanatory. I do like to enable, obviously, system tray icon. Even though I have run OBS on my second screen, I have 3 of them, and I'm really comfortable having different bits and pieces when I'm live streaming to the left screen and to the right screen. So I don't really have to switch between my streaming software and the game that I'm playing. On the second one, we have the stream settings, and allow me to switch quickly to the live streaming profile, because this is primarily where the differences are. I've just switched to a live streaming profile, and you probably notice that these things are different. First, you have streaming stream type. You want to stream to one of the default services, or maybe you want to stream to something custom. I don't know what it would be. I do prefer to stream to YouTube, as many of you probably already know. So all I need to do is select primarily YouTube ingest server. I haven't actually tried using backup YouTube ingest server, but both of them should really be working very nicely and easily. The stream key is something that you can either have as a constant if you use, I'll show you later. If I forget, please, Jim, remind me to show the different kinds of live streams on YouTube. But the stream key is something that can be constant if you use the stream now option from YouTube, or you have to every single time paste a new stream key if you're working with YouTube events. I am working with YouTube events, so every time before I start up a live stream, I load a different stream key here. I'll tell you later, if I don't forget, why I actually prefer events and what exactly gives me, what kind of an advantage I receive from them. The third tab is output, and I highly and very strongly advise you all to use the advanced display, because it's... I'll be back in a moment. The dock is displeased with something. There we go. Yes, Ida really wanted to throw me. So thank you, Ida, for trolling. Actually, she got upset because someone knocked at the door. And, she's a guardian. Anyway, moving on to the interesting part. This is where you will be setting up the same things or different settings for live streaming and for local recording. The first tab here is called streaming. Audio tracks, you have 4 available. And depending on how you set them up, you need to choose 1 out of 4 for the live stream. You cannot have more than 1 track at the same time, obviously, because live stream displays both video and audio at the same time. Then you have to decide whether you want to stream with the X264, which is the CPU encoder, very heavy on your CPU, or NVENC, which is the hardware encoder integrated into your NVIDIA video card, if you have it, of course. If you don't have it, and if you have allowed your onboard video card, that's part of your CPU, you might have a third option to use it. And that's another type of hardware encoder. But since I do have NVIDIA encoder, it's actually my preferred method of live streaming and recording because I can afford high bitrate. More about bitrate in a moment. But basically, that's the biggest difference. To produce high quality, you need high bitrate. Between the 3 different available, or maybe 4, but 3 are the mains. The main encoders, the NVIDIA one, the integrated video card on your CPU, and the pure CPU heavy encoder. The CPU encoder, which is X264, requires less bitrate, but it takes a huge amount of your CPU power. So if you're playing a more demanding game, you would have to spare some huge chunk of your CPU resources to live stream that game. If you own an NVIDIA card, generation 660 or newer, I think, well, I don't think pretty much most of the gamers do have latest or at least relatively new generation video cards, and all of them have integrated hardware encoder on them. So you should be using them. That's what I'm using, and forgive me if my examples here or there are actually limited because of that encoder. The next option is rescale output. You don't need to rescale unless your screen is different. For example, I play my games on a 1440p resolution. That's 2560 by 1440p pixels. And attempting to stream on such a high resolution requires a big amount of bitrate spent to produce good quality. So I'm actually downscaling my stream and I'm live streaming to 1080p, which is still the most popular resolution, I believe. Highly advise everyone to use CBR, which is constant bitrate, because that will save you big troubles with attempting to eventually edit those videos with a software, with a video editing software such as Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas, for example. Then we come to bitrate. If we go back to some of these, let's see where it is. Introduction to live streaming. All of these links that I'm showing you currently here and all of these tabs that I have opened have been linked down below in the description, so you can take some time after the video is finished and read more about those. Currently, I really wanted to show you the YouTube's official live encoder settings, bitrates, and resolutions. So for my case, I'm streaming at 1080p with 60 frames per second, and YouTube is recommending me to stream with a bitrate between 4500 and 9000 kilobits per second. If you're wondering how exactly these things work and what is 9000 kilobits per second, it is 1.1 megabytes per second. Basically, what you have to do is divide the kilobits per second by 8, and you should receive the number in megabytes per second. That's probably something everybody knows if you're using torrents. We are back.
What do you say? To get at pirate things?
No, not at all. I just vaguely mentioned torrenting, and that's really, really bad. Don't do it. Don't do it. No. Especially not for Star Wars related items. or movies or something else. Okay.
It just
So
gives me ideas.
back on the topic of bitrate. Bitrate is the stat or the value that determines the quality of your live stream. The higher bitrate you live stream with, especially to YouTube, the better quality video and audio you have for your viewers. The two limits are basically what your system can handle and what YouTube can handle. Obviously, YouTube is Google and Google has no limits. So you're absolutely free to live stream to Google or to YouTube, with as higher bitrate as you possibly want. But it's really a good idea to follow these instructions officially mentioned by YouTube. So my bitrate for 1080p is 8500. Why? Because a little bit of that is saved until we reach 9000 is saved for audio. I'll show you the audio settings in a moment. And I don't really want to go over 9000 because, it's a bad joke. The keyframe interval, I forgot why and where was that. I couldn't find really the extensive, long and detailed guide as to why the keyframe interval should be 2. But let's accept that this is a constant. You shouldn't change it. Preset working on default is completely fine. This is something very specific, all of this here, to NVIDIA encoder. The profile high is my personal recommendation. I don't really know if any other guides will advise you something else. I've been streaming with these settings for a very long time and it works perfectly fine for me. And then I leave the level to auto. If you switch to X264, for example, you're going to see different settings here. Obviously, the default bitrate is much lower. You can use the CPU encoder and live stream with higher bitrates, but you don't need to go that high because this is a much better encoder again. And to have a better encoder, you're paying with CPU hard work, let's call it. Below you have different settings. Very fast is the most popular PCU usage preset that almost everybody is using. The lower you go on that list, the bigger workload you will be putting on your CPU. So either stream to very fast or super fast. Super fast is going to be actually quite a bit more pixelated. For the profiles, you can use main or high. I don't recommend baseline. And tune is something I really have absolutely no idea what it is because this has been added with OBS Studio and I haven't been streaming using this encoder, the CPU encoder, in ages. So I can't really say if it makes any difference what kind of tune you will be using. Going back to the second tab up there, it is the recording one. I highly recommend you use different settings to live stream and record. Usually, the settings for local recording should be higher. If you intend to edit your videos and your live stream production, this is really useful. First, obviously, you can record to whatever you want on one of your hard drives. And I strongly recommend you to record in MP4 format because it's the most universal one. It's easiest to work with when you're editing the videos. And it does a fairly decent amount of compression without sacrificing quality too much. But I can't go into more deeper details because I'm not really a pro in this. Here is the best part about OBS and audio tracks. While locally recording, you can select up to 4 tracks to be separately recorded. What that means is if I quickly switch to this is Adobe Premiere, and if I attempt to add maybe something, would be nice if I had something. Let's just open something quickly. Maybe not from this window, maybe from the other one. Let's see.
There's a question from the chat.
What is it?
Someone asked, Trio asked what if I have a 0 frame interval?
I can't remember what was it. I've tested it a long time ago. I honestly don't remember what is the difference in terms of quality or something else when that happens. Let's see. I do know that it's supposed to be on 2, and I've accepted that as a law or rule or whatever you want, and that's what I've been doing. Let me see if I can actually find something. There we go. So this is the biggest advantage in terms of audio channels or audio tracks. This first one on the top is the video, and below I have 4 different audio channels going back to OBS. And let's talk about these audio tracks. What I'm doing is I'm selecting my first track to record everything. That's the first track, exactly the same one that I'm using for live streaming. So it contains my voiceover, my system sound, and my game sound, and something else if I have, for example, such as the intro music in the intro screen. On the second, third, and fourth channels, I'm placing 3 different things. Usually I have on one channel, one track, for my microphone, and a separate track for my game and system. Why? Because when I live stream a walkthrough, for example, from Star Wars The Old Republic, I want to have one track for my voiceover in case I talk over a cutscene, and then I can very easily remove that track and have the default sound from the in-game playing as a seamless cutscene when I create those movie-like experience cutscenes for a whole chapter of the story walkthrough. Then we have again options. What you need to know here is that local recording again should be different than live streaming in terms of quality. I don't need to rescale because I locally record to my native resolution, which is, as you can see here, 2560 by 1440. Down below, the main biggest difference is bitrate. If you remember, my live streaming settings include 8500 bitrate because that's close to the maximum recommended cap from YouTube for this resolution. For local recording, you can set this as high as your hard drive can support it. If you record locally to a normal hard drive, the baseline guides, the baseline suggestion would be to record with no higher than 50,000 kilobits per second. However, modern and normally working hard drives can support much higher bit rates, although you don't really need bigger bit rates or higher bit rates. The higher the bit rate, the bigger the file size is going to be for your end product quality. And I don't remember how exactly this scales bitrate compared to file size per second, but you can very easily check that. For me personally, I've decided to use a bitrate of 17,000. Why? Because I've tested it throughout the years many times with many different settings, and it turns out that for my resolution, anything beyond 15,000 kilobits per second is actually not noticeable on my videos. You know that when you upload the video to YouTube, Google does their own processing, and they actually rework your video. That's why your local recording is always going to look much better than what you see as a final uploaded video on YouTube. Below you have the exact same keyframe interval, which is 2. Again, don't know why 0 is default. I don't know if there is any bigger difference. I'm using 2 and it works fine for me. And below you have the exact same preset, profile, and level, which for me are the exact same settings as live streaming. The biggest difference, audio tracks, you need at least 2 or 3, depending on your setup, and you might not need them actually. And the second one is higher bitrate. Again, put as high bitrate as you can possibly muster here. For local recording, you are not limited by your internet provider. For live streaming, you are actually limited depending on your contract and what you can afford. For example, my upload speed is 25 or 26 megabits per second. So if I want to, I can technically afford to live stream to 1440p with 60 frames per second, but that's a brand new feature added to YouTube. And very, very recently, they've actually added live streaming capabilities in 4K. I don't know who would be crazy enough to live stream at 4K, unless they're a very pro company doing something really gigantic. But outputting to the internet with 50,000 kilobits per second, that's brilliant self-killing you. And the third tab over here is about the audio tracks. As I've told you, you have 4 available audio tracks, and even though every single guide on YouTube or everywhere else suggests live streaming to 96 to 192, audio quality for me is important. I can afford it because this bitrate is actually added to this bitrate, or in terms of live streaming, this 320 is added to this 8500, and we receive a final combined bitrate very close to 9000, which again is the recommended cap for 1080p 60 frames. I'm using the highest possible audio quality for all of my tracks, for all of my audio sources, because I do value quality audio. And even though it's really hard for most of us to notice a difference between 320 and 192, some people are, and I would like to be able to offer the best quality ever. Moving on from output, going into the audio settings, I don't really have many things to mention here. As you would notice, I haven't really messed up with the bottom part here. But what I do need to mention is that the desktop audio device needs to be, well, whatever device you're using. In my case, it's either speakers or headset. And 2 rows below, you have a mic auxiliary audio device. This is your prime microphone. Why does it say line 1 virtual audio cable? I have a link down below in the description, which will take you to my microphone noise cancelling or noise removing video tutorial. I've recorded that about 2 years ago. And that's why it says line 1 here. You can directly use your microphone, which in my case is the Rode NT-USB model. The next tab is the video. You really want these first 2 rows to be matching, and they need to be to your native monitor resolution. In my case, as I've told you, it's 1440p. The third one, downscale filter, in case you're downscaling, I highly recommend you to use a Langszos, or however it is supposed to be spelled and read, because it's really by far the best. And yes, you can see a difference between the 3 of those, or at least I was able to see when I last tested those some 1 year ago, maybe longer. The last option in the video tab is the frame rate. I'm choosing to live stream to 60 frames per second because it looks smooth. I have high enough upload speed to be able to upload with higher bitrate. Remember that bitrate is also connected not just to the resolution, but to the FPS. The higher FPS you stream at, the higher bitrate you would require. And you can very easily check that, again, back going to the live encoder settings guide from Google. Moving down below is the hotkeys section, which I will absolutely completely skip. First, because I don't use hotkeys, and second, because I think it's self-explanatory. If you want to do stuff with your keyboard, I don't really think you would, especially if you're streaming a game. It's counterproductive playing a game with your keyboard and mouse and then using different kinds of keybinds. The last window is advanced. You shouldn't really change anything here from the default settings as you install OBS unless you really know what you're doing. I don't recommend you touch anything here, or if you want to, first read the very nicely created technical explanation of OBS settings. This is a very detailed and interesting guide about most of the settings OBS is offering to you, and it is available on the forums of obsproject.com. Anything interesting to add or ask, Jim, so far? Have you been following?
I've been following the whole thing.
Do you think I'm doing a good job explaining?
Yeah, you do. But I'm still wondering about the sound.
Which part about the sound?
You're going to use 320 kbps?
Yes, I have been for a very long time, and the only limitation would be if you want to save bitrate. I have the bitrate required, so I can afford to produce higher quality sound. Again, if you stream to 192 sound, it's probably for 99% of the viewers, it will sound exactly the same. Nobody will ever notice that there is a difference. But again, because I can afford it and it is available, I'm using it. It's kind of
Okay.
like Twitch versus YouTube. Twitch
Well,
is
that's
far more popular. Yeah.
well, that was my main concern. I mean, the difference between 192 and 320 for most people is not. You
Yeah,
can make a clear
just like
distinction
many
between the
people
two.
will say, I prefer Twitch because it's a more popular platform, and I don't care about the higher quality. I stream to YouTube because it offers me a much bigger. Uh, it does give me a much bigger opportunity or far friendlier limits, if I may say so. And I'm streaming to YouTube because I can stream with a better quality, not for popularity. Streaming to YouTube for me personally has been less popular because generally my audience on YouTube is used to watching VODs, but that actually has been changing in the last year. Anyway, let's not change topics. uh, in terms of, let's actually, what is my next point? Let's see. Right, we've talked about the user interface. We've talked about bitrate. Anything specific you want to mention or ask about the bitrate that I didn't explain properly?
No, the part was very clear. The only thing, the
Wow.
only questions I had was the sound. But yeah, you just answered those
All right.
questions too. So
The next one in my list here is building OBS scenes and layers. All right, let's close this one. I'm going to open the new test collection scene and show it to you because this is exactly what you start with. You have one scene and 0 sources. Obviously, again, this source is just so I can have some picture. We're starting with a scene, adding a scene, and let's call it intro scene, because I like to have an intro scene for whatever game I'm playing. Vulkk's voice is excellent for listening before you hit the bed or you're doing something else. That is because you don't mind my accent. You would not believe how unfriendly people I've met in relations to my accent. We are building a scene. We do have a second scene called intro, and now we are going to populate that scene with something. The first thing for an intro scene would be a stationary picture. So I'm going to add an image. Obviously, there are a ton more things available here. You don't need to learn all of them right now. I would probably not be able to explain them in great details, all of these here, but I'm going to show you some of the most important sources. So adding a static image is just that is you can check, and you probably should check unload image when not showing, because that actually saves a tiny bit of resources when live streaming, although you shouldn't really bother. But since it's there, let's use it. And just a random selection of some of my pictures that I've created in the past. Let's use, for example, this one. And we click OK. Then you would see that it actually imports with a weird scale. When you right click here, or if you right click here, the exact same menu is going to appear. And right here is when we start using transform. Remember we mentioned transform up here in the edit menu and order as well. All the way back into the beginning of the live stream. Some 20, 30 minutes later, we are actually going to use transform. And going here, we really need that picture to take all of the screen real estate, and we're just maximizing it. I'm going to add text, for example, just a plain text. And here, of course, you can benefit from several options available to tweak your text. Oops, Sony something different. I'm just typing the most basic text ever without any fancy edits, and it appears over here. Again, if you want to, you can resize it and make it a little bit bigger, position it wherever you please. What you have selected here is actually displayed with a red border, and that means you are currently moving and editing this. Something else you might want to add is an extra audio source, because again, this is an intro scene and I would like to add a special music. Now the special music falls into the, where the hell is it? Media source. We're calling this music track because why not? And you don't really need to change all of these settings, or if depending on what your purpose is, you can play around with looping it. I personally loop my intro settings because my intros are not always the exact same length. And I do like to restart the playback when the source becomes active, just so that the music starts from the beginning. And then I'm going to look for something. Let's see, where exactly are my music tracks, if I can remember. Well, there are a bunch of music tracks that I've downloaded here, and for God's sakes, I can't really remember where is the one that I'm using currently, but let's add the Forest MP3 background music theme. As soon as you add it, you will see that it actually begins playing automatically. You can alter that by either muting it or lowering the volume. This volume currently is just for that specific music track. There is nothing else in the scene currently that actually is affecting it. If you want to add something else, you can add, for example, let's see, audio input capture. And in the audio input capture, you can add your microphone, for example. Maybe not. You would see that when I speak, the audio input capture, which is my microphone, is actually moving. And after a while, it tones down. Let's create another scene so I can show you how exactly you're adding games and overlay chat on top of the games and other things like that. That scene is going to be called game. Oops, game, not gamer. And the first thing you want to add is a game capture. I have been, wow, I'm disconnected actually. I have my favorite Star Wars The Old Republic game running here in the background, not because I will be playing it, but because I want to display it for you guys. And it is the easiest way to do that. So I'm going back to the sources and adding a new source through game capture. You can capture a game by capturing its source, which is the game source, what I'm doing right now, or you can capture it by a window. Or third option, you can capture your whole monitor screen, which is the worst of all of them, because then you would be showing absolutely everything else. So I'm choosing the game capture. Sometimes game capture may not work with some games. That's not down to you. And you might be able to find a workaround for that specific game, but you would have to look on the internet. Luckily, Star Wars The Old Republic is supposed to work, so I'm going to capture a specific window, and then from all the windows I have opened, you don't see them, of course, because they're on the side screens, I'm going to choose SOTOR EXE. And this one is what exactly do you want to look for: window match property, priority, the window title, the window class, or the executable name. I'm currently choosing to match with sotor.exe. And when I add that, the game should eventually pop up. If it doesn't, you might have to restart OBS. If you're wondering why do you have black bars on the bottom at the moment, it is because my game is running on windowed, as you can see, and the black bar is actually my taskbar below. If I run the game on
Your microphone or the thing, Discord just faded.
No, it's probably my microphone. Usually it happens when I resize the game. And then I will go to the game transform and make it fit to screen. And now it should be actually working properly. Well, it should be really. Come on, refresh. The joy of live streaming. Doesn't want to show the game now. Come on, game, show yourself. Well, that's a little bit embarrassing, but at least I was able to show you how to capture the game. If the game doesn't want to capture itself through game capture, you go and choose maybe a window capture. And then that window capture would be, again, window class, and you can capture it this way. Again, why is it not filling the screen properly? It's because I'm in window mode and I will not switch to full screen again due to those laggy moments that I experience from time to time. Something else you might want to add to your game is a subscriber or follower notification or a chat overlay. Specifically for the chat overlay, I would like to thank the owner of this channel and the creator of this video, Frosthaven. There is a link to his tutorial down below in my video description, and I will not go into too deep details as to how he created his chat overlay, but I've watched the video and I've learned how to do it for myself. What he does is basically install a plugin for Chrome, which is called Tamper Monkey. Obviously, you have to use Chrome for this method of chat capturing. You install Tamper Monkey, and then down below in the video description under his video, there is a link to a script that he has created. What you need to do is input that script into Tamper Monkey. The script is automatically updated whenever he decides to do something or change something. And what that script does is, first, let me show you the only one thing that I've actually changed on my own because that suits my needs. Right here, these two parameters, width and height, I've set them to 400 and 800. This is exactly what the script does. It creates this nice little window, which you can have if you go into, oh no, not that one. If you go here, I promise to show you how, if I can just drag that window and maximize it. This is the dashboard for live streaming events. And this button, Stream Chat, has been added through the script that you would install from the link that this guy is providing. What it does is create a pop-up chat like this one here. You have several options available. These are default YouTube options. Down below is the config menu, which is entirely custom through the script. And you can select background colors, colors of the nicknames, colors of the text messages, alerts for donations, which I don't use because I can't receive donations through live streams. It's not available in Bulgaria. Not that anybody would ever care to do it. And other settings like that. Well, I've received a few on Twitch, but the fan funding is not currently yet. It's not yet available in Bulgaria. So whenever eventually they make it available, I will start to pay attention to it.
Yeah, but you run a Patreon campaign, so people are willing to donate.
That is my way of receiving extra funds. Yes, that's how I can afford to buy stuff and support my creations.
Yes. So
moving this,
to do.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a good time. Good and big shout out to all of my patrons, all the 26 of them currently. Thank you guys for your loyal support. So many things would never have been possible for me in terms of hardware upgrades and quality upgrades, like, for example, the green screen, if it wasn't for my Patreon. Anyway, we have this pop-up window and we want to load it into OBS and make it nice. I prefer background-less chat, for example, because I like to add my own background. Let's see how we do it. For that, you would need the browser source. Adding a browser source, let's call it chat. And right here, you're going to need, let me see, did I keep this open? You're going to need this URL. The other, why am I saying silly things? You don't want to capture chat with browser source. That's a fail up on my part, forgive me. You remove this and then you capture a window. Of course, you're capturing it with a window. capture window, then call it chat. Browser source is what we'll be using for overlay notifications, such as subscriber notification or follower notifications or donations if you do that on Twitch. And then we've captured the chat window. You can select here which windows you want to capture. By default, I've already captured the window. And just in case when you start OBS before you've opened this pop-up chat, your window here, the chat overlay, will be populated with something else. Like, for example, I can close it and immediately OBS tries to capture the next closest, which in this case is actually the dashboard. If I fire up again the chat, and I can very quickly, hopefully and easily change it from here, maybe quick refresh, and it's done. What you want to do in the chat settings is right click and then you go into filters. This is the place where all of the extra edits are being done. Click on the little plus sign on the bottom left, and first thing we want to do is color key, because as I told you, I don't like backgrounds on my chat. We're selecting a custom color from the filters menu, selecting a color and using the pick screen color to pick this. We click OK, and you've already noticed that the color background has disappeared. You can play around a little bit with these settings, and since I think I remember the values that I'm using, let's stop on 75 for similarity and 50 for smoothness. You click on close, and you would now see that the chat overlay doesn't have a background anymore. The next edit I personally prefer to do is remove the avatars, because unfortunately most of you guys don't bother adding avatars, and when the avatars are the defaultly populated by YouTube, they don't look cool, so I prefer not to have them. How you can remove them? Using crop. Crop is the next filter we're going to add. And what you can do is start moving either with clicking on these arrows, or currently I'm just pressing up on my keyboard, the up arrow. Then stop whenever I please. I don't like the chat to be so long or so tall, so I'm actually going to cut the top as well to, well, let's say that much. You can make it more precise if you will. I don't want this annoying slide bar to be visible either. So I'm actually going to remove a little bit of the right side. And of course, I don't want the bottom part where Vulkk is saying silly things at the moment. Like this one for now. So I'm removing the bottom part as well by cropping it. And that's probably fine. And there it is, the new chat overlay. The next thing you might want to add is, let's say, an image. And that's chat background. I'm going to browse and hopefully see where exactly is my chat background. YouTube background, not here, it's YouTube stream layouts. And there it is. I don't use it anymore, but I used it for a very, very long time. This is a background for my chat. And now what I have to do is maybe make it a little bit bigger so I can move it. Then I'm moving the chat on top of the background. What I've just noticed, luckily for me, because I wanted to demonstrate that, is that the chat actually appears below the background. That is because the chat background is on top of the chat source. What we can do and should do is just move it below. This is the exact same function from order. So move up, move down, move to the top and move to the bottom is exactly what you would want to do when you're creating your layers or sources. And now I have a nicely looking chat, maybe not so nice because it doesn't really fit, as you can see. If I want to tweak it a little bit more, maybe I should cut it more from the top to make it a little bit more squarish. I can resize it, remember, as much as I want. So let me show you exactly how my chat used to look, or as close as possible. I can't really remember. And then go to the filter crop again. Maybe go for 300 and let's see. There we go. This is the chat. Next step would be to add webcam, maybe. Why not the webcam? Let's see. Webcam is... where is the webcam? Video capture device. We're adding a webcam. And hello, this is Vulkk with an ugly top side where the green screen actually disappears. All of the settings here are personally selected for your webcam. I'm not going to discuss them here because they're wildly different depending on lighting, saturation, webcam model, and other things. I'm very quickly just adding this webcam source, and let's say I'll put it here. Just for those of you who would want to learn how I green screen things, I go into filters again, and I'm going to add, I don't want an audio video filter, I want an effect filter, and I think I'm looking for a chroma key. Just adding a chroma key quickly, and since I don't remember the exact perfect values that I used to have here, let's say this is probably close enough. You've noticed that the bigger part of the background disappeared, but because up there on the top, the green screen ends, and there is a little bit of the back wall visible. Oh. There is music playing, really? All right, back on topic. You confused me. I'm adding another filter to the webcam, and here again, I'm doing a little bit of cropping. What I need to do is crop the top all the way up to here until everything looks clear. And then I have, you can see the green spill because some of the settings are not set perfectly the way I usually do them. And because I've tweaked them a lot in the past to make them as perfect as I could, and these aren't obviously, that's why you're seeing the green spill when I'm moving fast my hands in this case. All right, we've got the game, the chat overlay, the background for the chat, and a webcam. The last thing we need to add is, or at least the last thing I want to show you how to add is alert box. And I'm currently showing you the Streamlabs option, even though there are a few other available. I don't really remember any of them because I've been using Streamlabs, which had a different name in the past and I can't remember. I used this platform when I was live streaming to Twitch. Now, thankfully, they offer the exact same capability for YouTube. You want to log in using your either Twitch or YouTube account, go down to the alert box, and I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time detailing all of the available options because I've already set them up for myself, and this is not the exact idea of the tutorial today. This is something that I will obviously have to change eventually because I've already shown you this specific key, which is supposed to be personal. This key is being added right here, browser source, and you add the browser source, this thing here, and you've got something invisible. The default stats are not really important. You can change the width and the height later. What I want to change is the FPS because I need it to be 60. This is the default CSS code. I never change it. I don't need really. What I would probably prefer to change is the height because I know what I'm using and I know what I need for it. And that creates an empty box at the moment. If I leave that open the site again. So let's make sure that this is still visible on the bottom right corner. And I have a test subscriber alert. Woohoo! Woohoo! That's a happy Homer. I have, of course, several available subscriber alerts.
Ay, caramba!
And then let's show Ned Flanders, of course. Hot diggity. That's how you display overlay of your subscriber follower or followers or donations, obviously. You can and you should set up these separately here through the alert box settings, but since I'm only using subscriber alert, I'm not using anything else at the moment. You have various options available for everything else around here. I think I have exhausted the overlays, the chat, the camera, the green screen, the pop-ups, and everything else about that. Do you think I'm missing something, Jim, or maybe I didn't explain something well enough?
No, everything is fine until now.
I've already talked about...
Nothing. Go ahead.
I've already talked about the perfect settings for OBS for live streaming. Maybe the next topic should be local recording. I've already told you what the baseline for me personally is for bitrate for local recording. When I have my video available for edit, I personally prefer to use Adobe Premiere, but you can use whatever you have available and lying around. Here are the settings that I prefer when I render my videos. I can't really tell you why I've set all of these the way they have, but if you copy them, if you give it a try for your video, and if it looks good, feel free to use them. The only thing I need to change is this. The target bitrate needs to be a little bit higher. I set it to 5 megabits per second when I'm recording something that doesn't involve, excuse me, a lot of action on the screen. For example, when I'm doing my weekly roundup or something else like that, or maybe when I'm live streaming Gwent, for example, it's a game that doesn't require a huge amount of bitrate all the time, and I can afford to make the size of the video smaller. I don't know why I'm gesturing in front of the camera when you can't actually see it. That's interesting. And some of the other options that I'm using, just opening these windows for you guys, you can copy them, you can alter them, you can play around and change stuff the way you please. If you have more available time, I would advise you to check out this series. It's also linked down below in the description. It's something I've created, as you can see, 1.5 years ago. And obviously, since then, I've changed many things. The way I create my videos, because these 4 videos display only a handful or the most basic things that I go through when I'm creating, rendering, editing video, and the thumbnail for the video after that. I don't know if you've ever noticed, I pay a huge attention to my thumbnails, and I want them to be shiny, cool looking, but not clickbites. If you ever notice a clickbite on a Vulkk video, then scold him,
So
rage on
make
him.
them, you also make them relevant to the topic of the video.
I really do my best to make the thumbnail relative and just speaking for itself. If I could make the thumbnail without adding text on it and making good sense, I would. But since that's never possible, I always have hopefully good enough, big enough text letters so that they can be read on the small thumbnail that YouTube shows before the video. Oh, actually here on the screen, you can see the thumbnail that I've created for my OBS tutorial, the one that I'm currently live streaming. That's why YouTube says I'm currently live. These are the settings that I'm using, and as I've told you, I extract my videos to 1440p resolution at 60 frames per second. It's because I can. I know that many of you are not capable of watching natively at that resolution. That's either your choice, because you don't want to go higher than 1080p or whatever your screen resolution is, or unfortunately, sometimes it's down to financial limitations. Quick tip. If you're not in a hurry, if you have slow internet connection, but you want to watch any video, mine or anybody else's video, in the best possible video and audio settings, put it on the highest possible resolution and highest possible frame rate. Because even on smaller screens, like for example, my screen is 1440p, God knows how many times I've said that today. If I want to watch a video, for example, from Linus Tech Tips, because I follow that channel, they often upload videos at 4K. I don't know why, they don't really need to. Almost nobody is watching those videos on native 4K screen displays. But even when I watch the videos on my 1440p display, watching them at 4K, I have high enough internet so I don't have to wait for any buffering. But I advise you to wait a couple minutes or however long it is and watch the videos on the highest possible resolutions, because they do look a tiny bit better. If you don't care about that, obviously watch the video at 320 and be happy with it. Just so you know, when you watch on lower, very low resolution, YouTube also muffles the sound. So it's not just the video that's borked or pixelated, the sound quality also degrades, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Degrading.
Degrading. Oh yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
Let's see. What else did I want to mention? Oh yes, the last topic on my table is creating a live stream, and what is the biggest difference between a live stream event and live stream now? Live stream now.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you were going to show us different YouTube streams.
That's exactly what I will be doing now. Yeah, thank you for the reminder though.
Sorry.
So the first option is probably the easiest and I suppose the most popular among casual live streamers. Stream Now uses the exact same key. Again, going back, if you forgot, guys, the stream key is that little thing that's pasted here. If you use a live stream event, the key is the same. If you use live stream now, the key is always the same. You just click start stream from OBS and you immediately go live. If you use events though, those keys will be different every single time. There are now some similarities between Stream Now and events because YouTube has been trying to improve live stream by allowing you to schedule your next live stream. I prefer events because sometimes I schedule more than one event in the future and I don't mind having unique stream key every time when I'm starting a live stream. I've probably built myself a habit of doing that. Don't distract me with silly things in the chat. Swedish bikini. Okay, back on topic. Creating a new live event consists of a few things. First, you come up with a silly title or a clickbait title. I don't advise you to go for clickbait titles. You select the date, the starting date and hour. And if you want, you can select an end date. I'm not really sure why would you bother. As far as I know, YouTube, at least not now, they never display how long the stream is intended to run. So I usually put a start and an end hour for my live stream, but I do that for myself because nobody ever sees that statistic on YouTube or on YouTube Gaming, the live platform for YouTube. Then you have a little bit of description. You can edit those things. When you use events, all of these things will be editable after you finish the live stream. So you can change the description, you can add or remove tags. Tags are really important. Pay attention to them when you deal with YouTube live streams and with YouTube videos. The next section is advanced settings. The big things you need to pay attention to is the title of the game that you're streaming, for example, Star Wars The Old Republic. The date is not really that important, but it's cool to be relevant. The other thing is activate promote through featured content when event is live. That's really good because someone else stumbles upon a random video of mine and I'm at the same time live streaming. While they're watching that video, a small pop-up, or not very small, for some people it's annoying, is going to show on the screen, notifying them, hey, this person is live on YouTube, check out the live stream right now, and go curse them for the crap video they've created and you're watching.
So will that bypass, does that pop-up bypass any ad blockers, or it doesn't?
I don't know, actually. I haven't been using ad blockers on YouTube for about 2 years now. And because I know how important ads are, that's self-advertisement right now, but you ask for it. I know how important ads are for the channel to be supported. So I value the effort that other people are placing behind their videos, and I always stay and watch the short ads unless they're really long. I don't mind watching an ad, and usually the ads are tailored for you, so I'm watching something that I'm interested at. If I'm not interested, there is always the skip button. The next option
would it be an idea to ask people in the chat to maybe pay, check for us to see if they get a pop-up that is blocked by an ad blocker?
I'm not really sure if for this current event I have selected the pop-up to be available.
That could be for the next
but
stream.
Maybe I can ask that for the future and for the comments after the video is being published, because that's something I don't really know. Does the pop-up that the person is live streaming get blocked when you're using an ad blocker? For my personal channel, and I believe it's very close to the worldwide statistics, about 2/3 of my viewers use block on YouTube, so they don't see advertisement. So it's very likely if that thing gets blocked as well, they are not going to see a notification that I'm live.
That's too bad,
Well,
because it's not really an advertisement. Or is it?
That one isn't, yeah, but it's a pop-up, just like the ad banner on the bottom. They are both pop-ups, and I'm not really sure how YouTube is treating them. But enough on ads. Everybody knows that advertisement is frustrating, and again, everybody knows that sometimes it's useful. Promote on the channel page. I usually set that depending on how long before the live stream I want my video to be promoted. Promote on the channel page is something that you guys usually see on my channel's homepage. When I create a live stream, it would appear right here. You don't see upcoming live streams if this is empty. If you open my homepage channel right now, you will see nothing between the big thumbnail here and the uploads tab. This one is only viewable to me because I'm the owner of the channel, and when I have a live stream upcoming, it will be shown here depending on how I've set up this setting to promote on the channel page. The next important setting is to enable recording. You always want your live streams to be automatically recorded, and you would see that the recording is available for up to 8 hours. I don't know why, but this is not true. About a week ago, I did 9 hours live stream going through Knights of the Eternal Throne story, the latest expansion to Star Wars The Old Republic, and all of the 9 hours are currently available in a whole video for whoever wants to spend half a day watching it. The next setting is automatically made archive unlisted once the stream has ended. Most of the time, I personally prefer my live streams to not be publicly accessible immediately after I finish the live stream, because often I want to add more description, tags, change the thumbnail, or publish the live stream on the next day, for example, if it's too late for me and I've run past the peak hour, because there are such things as peak hours and peak viewing hours for YouTube as well. I don't want my video to be published in the so-called dead hours when nobody is watching YouTube, or at least nobody from my subscriber base. It's different per content and per channel. Okay, the game disconnected me. The last setting that you hopefully want to pay attention is to optimize for interaction or optimize for less viewer buffering. Optimizing for interaction lowers the delay between what I'm doing and what you're seeing on your screens from the live stream. The default bitrate, the default delay currently on YouTube, I believe, is something around 10 to 20 seconds. It varies, though. I was never really able to pinpoint how long exactly it is, because it does vary. When I live streams heavy story things, and for example, when I did my first walkthroughs of Knights of the Eternal Throne, the 2 long live streams, I had them set up to be optimized for less viewer buffering, because I'm not responding to channel as often as when I do a normal live show. And the biggest and most important part or reason for me to do this live stream is so that I can allow the viewers to experience the story. Experiencing the story when the stream is buffering every several seconds or every several minutes is not pleasant. So optimizing for less viewer buffering tells YouTube to do its magic and allow the stream to buffer a little bit more in the very beginning, while you're watching the ad, for example, if you have advertisement available, and then have a seamless and smooth live stream experience until the end. Yes, it is involving a bigger delay, but the difference in delay, if the normal version has a delay of 10 to 20 seconds, the optimized for viewer buffering is featuring a delay in terms of 30 to 40 seconds, maybe up to 50. I don't remember seeing anything higher than this. So yeah, once again, I do prefer streaming with events because I don't do live streams daily. I don't have a steady schedule going to live stream every day for 5 hours from this hour until this hour, like the pro big streamers do. So I personally benefit more from events, and I like to use them because they allow me more settings, as you've witnessed here, compared to the Stream Now features. Obviously, the last part is monetization, but you only have options to disable monetization or enable it. If you enable it, people joining your live stream are going to see a hopefully entertaining and not very long ad in the beginning. And depending on how I set up the live stream, I might decide during the live stream to perform some advertisement or to allow some advertisement. I usually don't do that because I know how frustrating it is for you guys. But here in the live control room, this is actually the dashboard again for the current live stream that I'm doing and you're watching. And I have an option to insert an advertisement. I've actually tried that a couple of times just to see if it works. And it's actually useful for when you go on a break. Like I did 3 to 5 minute breaks between each chapter on those long streams that I've mentioned already a few times. Every time I go on a break, I would click add insertion and an advertisement will eventually play for some of the viewers, not for all. It depends on location, date, time, interest from the viewer, and of course, if they're using an ad block or not. Again, I'm not doing that. I place the advertisement. I allow YouTube to place default, whatever they please, advertisement on my videos after they've been published, not during the live stream. And that was actually my last topic on the list, setting up a live stream and the difference between Stream Now and events. Any possible questions from you, Jim, or from anybody currently available in the chat?
No, not at the moment.
Ooh.
I think you've been very clear.
You're either very overwhelmed or very likely
Yeah,
I did a good job explaining. I'm leaning towards the first answer.
You did an excellent job explaining. So
the big round thing on the stream thumbnail is actually this thing. It's the logo of OBS. That thing over here. It's just looking a little bit more silly. Oh, quick tip, of course, unless you're using a 30-bit Windows system, install and use the 60-bit version of the OBS client. Why? Because it will allow your PC to benefit from having more RAM, obviously. That sometimes, very often, is really important, specifically for more demanding games. I think that was it. I'm not exactly sure if I've managed to explain everything perfectly, or well enough at least. I can't say if I explained everything I wanted to, but I did my best while I was preparing before the live stream to note most of the questions that I remember being asked throughout the years. How I record, what do I use to record, what are my settings for OBS, what do I use to live stream, and all these things. Of course, if anybody has any more questions, if you're watching the recorded version of the video, feel free to ask away down in the comment section. I'll do my best to give you an answer. I'm never afraid to say I don't know, but if I don't know and it's an interesting question, I would go look it up, find a guide or a tutorial that someone else has done, and then I will point and forward you to that. I believe it is time to wrap up the live stream.
Thank you for explaining it to me.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm really looking forward to see you starting your live streams. And of course, because you're an old and good friend of mine, I'll do my best to help and support and promote your content, even though you're playing a bad game.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. For you have to wait a little bit more. Thank you, everybody, for joining the live stream. I hope you have enjoyed it. Those of you who wanted to hear something technical probably have had their dose of interesting information. Wrapping up the video and saying bye-bye.
See you guys.